Hello there, Ray here, and today I'm going to explain how StarExtractor works. StarExtractor is a machine that automatically summons withers and then kills them and collects their stars. I made this about 15 months ago, but have been waiting to show it off until I first showed off Beacon in a Box. The idea behind StarExtractor was to create and kill multiple withers with very little input. Instead of using methods like iron golems or potions or dogs to kill the withers, I used the bedrock to actually suffocate the withers. Simple bedrock formation like this actually works, but it has some flaws. This is the nether ceiling bedrock formation that I came up with to best fit my needs. 9 months ago I asked Wout12345 if he could use his MC edit filter to search for my bedrock formation, and he came up with 2 locations near 00 of the nether ceiling. The first location is at 337x and -32y, and this is a location that I used in the video Beacon in a Box. The second location is at -88x and 530y. At that time I asked Wout if he would want to give out his MC edit filter publicly, and he did not want to. So if you want any more locations of this, you will have to ask Wout, or else you have to make a filter of your own. The way that the StarExtractor works is that a player will be pushing in the soul sand, and as it passes by this piston, it will get pushed in. And at the same time it will also come here and activate this dropper and just move one item over. And the first time it doesn't do anything there, but the second soul sand that gets pushed in is going to activate this monostable. So now that there's 2 swords in there, it's long enough strength to activate this monostable. And this monostable will activate this piston, and it will come over here and activate this piston. And this is a T flip-flop situation, so these 2 pistons will swap states. So first the chicken's over here, and then the chicken will get pushed over here. And once the chicken is in this location, he is now close enough so that the withers will be able to see him because he's close enough to them, and he will allow the withers to try to reach him, and they'll do that by trying to fly up, and they'll try to fly up over top of him, but they can't because there's bedrock. And so they will fly up into this little air bubble here, and this prevents the withers from taking more damage, and it allows the soul sand to be placed in underneath of them. So the next soul sand will activate another monostable, and this will allow the redstone to be able to reach this center piston, and it'll just push the center one in. And then the last soul sand will actually finish the wither off. And when this one gets pushed in, it will push the soul sand all the way out, and then it also activate these dispensers here. And once these dispensers are activated, it will just summon the withers, and at the same time it will also come back over here and swap states again, and it'll send the chicken back over into this location. And here he is far enough back so he cannot be seen by the withers, and this will allow the withers to fall back down into their bedrock formation and start suffocating again. And at the same time, this dropper is also activated by this clock here, and it just puts all these swords back over here so it can start all over again. With this bedrock formation, you don't actually have to remove any bedrock, and bedrock nether ceiling starts at Y127 and goes all the way down to Y123. So at level Y123, all these gray stained glass just represent blocks that can be either bedrock or non-bedrock, so it doesn't really matter what that is. And then at level Y124, you can see that these are all bedrock in a 3x3, and the next 125 layers 3x3, and that needs to be bedrock. And then layer 126, the center one by this clear glass, needs to be non-bedrock block, and it can be either air or nether brick. And you can see the ones around it can either be bedrock or non-bedrock. And at level Y127, this is always bedrock, so you don't have to remove any of that bedrock. Prior to finding that bedrock formation, I would use this type of bedrock formation. And here, level Y127 always has bedrock, so all you would have to find is level 126, where there's a 3x3 bedrock formation. And at level 125, these can either be bedrock or non-bedrock, it doesn't matter. And at level 124 and 123, this you just have to remove any bedrock that gets in your way. So in this case, I would probably use a bedrock breaking method to remove bedrock if you have it that's interfering with your machine. And in this case, recently Myra and Irio came out with a video showing a bedrock break-in method that can break bedrock in any direction. So I would suggest using this type of bedrock break-in method if you happen to have some bedrock that you need being removed. An easy way to find this type of bedrock formation using MCEdit is just remove the top layer, level Y127 with MCEdit, and then you can just look for a 3x3 area of bedrock, and it's not too difficult to find this in an area. And up here on top you would want to have one block in here where this is air, and then above that you would want to have one block that holds the wither from being able to just fly out and fly away. The type of block that holds the wither down doesn't actually really matter as long as it's able to hold the wither down. It can be something as soft as soul sand, or it can actually be obsidian, due to the fact that either of these blocks can actually be destroyed by wither if you do not properly maintain them. I'll give a quick demonstration of why this is possible. Here we have a chicken, and this main wither head can sense the chicken, but he cannot actually visually see it from his location. So since he cannot see the chicken, he has it so that his side heads will actually summon blue wither skulls, but they cannot do anything since they are summoned within the bedrock. So next up, if the chicken is actually visual, so he can actually see the chicken, he will actually shoot black wither skulls with his main head at the chicken. And this actually means that he can actually also shoot blue wither skulls, but it's a really low chance. So if it happened to be that he actually shot upward, he could actually shoot the piece of block that's above him, and eventually he would shoot out a blue wither skull and destroy it. So here, if we have the main head target up on top of this here, he can see it and he'll try to shoot at it and end up hitting the piece above him, and this will allow him to actually destroy the block. And even if the block is obsidian, as I said, there's a small chance that instead of shooting a black skull, he will shoot a blue skull, and it will also destroy the obsidian. And that's why it's important to be able not to give the main head a new main target. So the safer way to do it is actually have him have a main head target, but have it so that he cannot actually visually see it. And then also make it, just in case that someone doesn't happen to walk by and become the new main head target, is to encase the wither so that he cannot have any visual contact with any new main head target. So it's best to just cover him up even if he is safely within the obsidian, just so he doesn't happen to see somebody walking by and try to shoot him, and instead shoot a blue wither skull and destroy the obsidian above him. Besides using the bedrock that is in the nether ceiling, you can also use the bedrock that is on the floor of the nether, and as well as the floor of the overworld. The way this is done is similar to those, except you would have to find this bedrock formation at Y levels Y4 and also at Y level 3. And at Y level 2 this can either be the bedrock or non-bedrock, and at Y level 1 you would probably want this one to be mostly air, just because this is where you can push in your soul sand. And at Y level 0 you can either remove them and put hoppers in, or else you'd have to push the nether stars off of there. And of course in the overworld you have water to work with, so you can push them off with water as well. That's about what you'd have to do. You might also have to move your main head target so that it is a little bit different, so that you don't become the main head target when operating these. The design over there was built specifically for the beacon in a box, where the dogs would kill the withers skeletons, and eventually there'd be enough skulls to build a wither. And this allows the machine to build a wither and have it die, as in the meantime there's more skulls that are being collected from the wither skeletons. So it's quite slow if you try to kill off massive amounts of withers at a time. So I end up building this design. With this design, it's specifically made so that you can summon in as many withers as you want, and you can do this in a very, very short amount of time. And then you can have them all die at once. So the way this works is that the player would be standing here, and he would just have the right click held down, and he could just AFK here by placing soul sand in, and then they would summon withers over there. So here I'll just hold down right click, and it'll just eventually keep pushing in soul sand, and you can use up soul sand really quickly with this method, and eventually I'll just run out of soul sand, and there should be about 16 withers that are summoned over there. So there's the end of my soul sand. And if you're in survival, this is far enough distance so that when the withers are summoned and they do their blast, you will not be affected by their blast. And here you can see that there is about 16 withers there, and you can summon in a lot of withers very quickly. and as long as you have the supplies. And once you have all your withers summoned in here, all you have to do is move their main head target away. So here the chicken gets pulled far enough away so that it's no longer within view, and then the withers will just drop down and start suffocating into that bedrock. So then all the withers will end up dying, and then you just have hoppers around here, which when the withers die, they'll drop their nether stars, and the hoppers will just pick them up. So if you have large amount of withers that you want to summon and kill off, this method works really well. This method actually allows you to summon in a wither every 16 game ticks. So that means every 4/5 of a second you can summon in a wither. This works exactly the same in 1.9. I have a tick speed mod installed, and it's called Cubatick, and it's made by Cubatech, and this allows me to slow down time so that we can see how this thing operates. So when you start out, there will be no soul sand on top of these hoppers, and then when you get done, you'll want the soul sand to be put in the shape of a wither, and then the heads will be placed on by these dispensers. But for that to happen, you would have to have a soul sand pushed in from this side. So in the end, it'll look like this. But when you start out, it's going to look like this. So what you need to have it start out as is you need the soul sand to start from this side, then this side, then this side, then this side, and then the last soul sand to be placed here. And this will cause the wither to be summoned in. And now you can see that the shape's a little bit different. Now you just have to add more shapes that are a T shape. So the last soul sand was from that side. So now this side gets placed in, then that side, then this side, and then once this side becomes a block and not block 36, then it can be pushed again, and the last soul sand come in from this side, and this will allow another wither to be summoned, and then this just continues until you run out of soul sand or you run out of skulls. So with time slowdown, you can see that if you place in the soul sand, that in the beginning it takes 5 soul sand to create a wither instead of 4, and then every time afterwards it will take 4 to create the wither. And as you can see, the wither is getting summoned in. He goes through that invulnerable stage, and then once he becomes vulnerable, he will try to locate that chicken over there, and he will actually rise up before he actually destroys any soul sand. So this allows you to continually to put more soul sand in, since the wither actually will never destroy any of the soul sand on this hoppers until you actually let them down. This whole design is very simple, as you can see, and from the very start you can see that there's just these 2 pistons that are pulsing, and the way I did this is just by using a burnout clock to have these 2 pistons pulse back and forth. If your redstone torch burnout clock happens to burn out, you can just add a piston here, and this will allow it to update itself, and it will continue. And you can see over here that when the soul sand is placed here in front of the piston, it just activates this piston and pushes the soul sand along the way. And there's just some normal pistons down here which will update these pistons. They're not needed, but they'll allow these pistons to 0 tick, as they call it. Same thing as over here. This has pretty much same thing, where the pistons will push the soul sand out of the way. And this one also, every time it pushes, it also sends a pulse over here and pulses these dispensers. So then after you get another soul sand from this side, and you only need 1 more soul sand. I'll set the tick speed a little lower. So once this tick speed, or once this soul sand gets pushed in, you can see that the power is actually removed already, but it actually does power these dispensers, and you can see that it causes the wither to be summoned in. So the wither's main head target is this chicken over here. It's about 14 meters away, and this is far enough away so that the wither, when it does its explosion, when it's summoned in, it doesn't damage the chicken, and it also allows the chicken to be close enough to the wither so that when you're over here, you don't become the main head target, and you're also too low to become the main head target if you're down here. So if you use that type of bedrock formation, this would be actually the level of the bedrock here, and this allows you to you don't have to cover up your rails because nothing can spawn on top of bedrock. And here I just use a chicken because the chickens you can easily carry around in if you have chicken eggs, you can easily put a chicken down in a minecart. So the distance that the chicken has to travel to be out of view of the wither is about 40 meters. So over there I have that one. The chicken's about 40 meters away, and that allows me just to move at 1 meter at a time, and that sends the withers up and down. Here I got the chicken going a little bit farther, just for safe measures. So if you want to move the chicken without breaking the bedrock, you can actually just find an area where the bedrock is 1 thick at Y level 127, and here you can just have a torch tower go through, and then you can just use a torch tower to operate anything above the bedrock without having to actually destroy any of the bedrock. So if the main head target for the withers is gone, like the chickens out there, and there happens to be a pigman jockey that spawns in down here, it can actually cause the withers to track it down here. So it's probably a good idea just to make sure that no pigmen spawn in your little area that you have it. As I said before, the layer right here doesn't matter if it's bedrock or non-bedrock. It doesn't affect the withers killing or the wither summoning, or if the wither stars fall. So it don't really matter if there's bedrock there. When you first get to the bedrock formation, there's going to be another rack block in there. And what you need to do in survival is have some ender pearls and an ender pearl up to it, and then with your pick you just mine it out. It's not too difficult. You can actually take some enchanted apples if you think you're gonna die. If you happen to start placing soul sand here and you happen to get the wrong direction first, it doesn't really matter. I'll try to demonstrate that here. Let's see if I can break it. Oh, it's harder than you think. Okay. So there I broke it, and all that happens is that the soul sand comes over here and pushes this redstone off, and also comes over here and plugs that. So that's pretty much all you have to do to get it refreshed, and then you can just try again. And once you get it going, you can just keep using up all your soul sand until you're done spawning withers. So if you have 375 withers to summon or less, the method that I would probably use is that I would go around and place 375 skulls in each of those dispensers, and then I would just come over here and make a little room where I have a chest that has enough soul sand to do 375 withers, which is about 25 stacks. And this is gives you enough time to actually place all the soul sand in the 5-minute time it takes for the items to despawn. So you could actually fill your inventory up with the item other than soul sand, and then you could come along and break this chest, and then you can actually place all the soul sand before the timer goes up. So it takes 5 minutes for items to spawn. You'll actually be able to place all the soul sand in that 5-minute time. So if you have more than that many withers to summon, then I would recommend giving some dispensers that you can just dispense a whole bunch of soul sand onto you as you place it. But this is a very efficient way to do it. And of course, if you want to, you can always automate these two different things. So let's say once you're done placing soul sand and it sees that there is no more wither skulls in a dispenser, then it can activate this chicken here, and this will allow the withers to die off, and then you can have a timer that sends the chicken back if you want to. There is a world download in the description. So there you have it, guys, a way to automatically summon in withers and have them be killed. If you found this interesting, show me with a like. If you'd like to see more content like this, subscribe to my channel. If you have any questions, be sure to comment. Bye bye.